Hello, welcome back to this episode of Dangerous African Confession HD. This is the continuation of the confession from our brother, who was telling us his experience after serving in the heart of a mega church, and walked away with scars he never expected. This isn't just about betrayal. It's about the dark things done in the name of God. If you've ever questioned what goes on behind closed doors in some churches, you're not alone. Let's begin.
It wasn't about salvation anymore. It was about survival, theirs, not ours. The first time I truly questioned whether this church had anything to do with God was when I discovered how the money moved. Not just the Sunday offerings. Not the monthly pledges. Not even the special, prophetic seed nights. No. I'm talking about the quiet envelopes. The hidden accounts. The transactions labeled outreach that never reached a single soul. And it all began when one day, Pastor's secretary asked me to print a document from her flash drive. She was in a hurry, a printer issue in the admin office. She tossed me the drive and ran off. When I opened it on my laptop, it automatically pulled up the last document she was working on. I wasn't supposed to see it. But before I could close the file, my eyes caught something that froze my fingers. Discretionary honorarium, Prophet Elisha, 120,000 cedis. Security Silence Fund, 45,000 cedis. Nella Relocation Package, 70,000 cedis. You know the Niela. Exactly what you are thinking. The same lady I caught him with in the office. But come to think of it, what relocation package? What silence fund? Why was a prophet getting 6 figures after a 3-day program? I couldn't unsee it. So I hit print. Not the whole file, just the one page I saw. And I kept it hidden in my guitar case for weeks. Because what I had just uncovered was bigger than immorality. It was organized corruption. The following Sunday, Pastor Damian preached a thunderous message titled, "If you rob God, God will rob you." He pounded the pulpit. Screamed about tithes. Demanded people bring their first fruits in foreign currency if possible. He said, God doesn't bless Sadie's faith with dollar dreams. The church erupted. I just sat there, looking around at the elderly woman who looked worried because she felt she would not be blessed because she does not have dollars. While knowing that none of it would ever go where they thought it did. I started asking questions discreetly. One junior accountant told me in confidence, the church has 4 accounts. One is what everyone knows. The others are personal. Untouchable. Pastor says they are for kingdom expansion, but... He looked over his shoulder. We're not expanding any kingdom I recognize from the Bible. And then came the final blow. One evening, I went to speak to Nella. Her bags were packed. She said Pastor had arranged for her to go abroad to a partner ministry. But she was crying. She didn't want to go. She didn't know what she was going there to do. She didn't even know who would pick her up. He said my season here is over. That I'm becoming a stumbling block to the anointing. Translation. She knew too much. And the price of silence was a plane ticket. So I told her to accept and go to wherever he was taking her to. As far as it is Europe, things will work out for her. I realized the women were not just victims. They were commodities. Exploited. Reassigned. Replaced. And the people in the pews. Just wallets with hands raised. What started as a scandal was now a machine. A ministry of manipulation. A gospel of greed. And I was suffocating in it. You see, there comes a time when silence becomes betrayal, not just of others, but of your own soul. I had spent 3 years serving that church. I gave my time. My youth. My trust. I cleaned the sanctuary before anyone arrived. I laid cables. Tuned mics. Memorized scriptures. I fasted until my body trembled, praying that God would move. And maybe he did. But not through Pastor Damian. Not through any of them. Because when God finally moved, it wasn't in a revival service. It was in me. You see, my friend, it was a Sunday morning. We were in the middle of the breakthrough offering segment, the second one that day. Pastor was sweating, pacing the altar, yelling, "God says so 500 cedis now or miss your visitation." As usual, people rushed forward in desperation, some barefoot, some crying. But something snapped in me. I looked at their faces. Desperate. Hungry. Hopeful. And I realized they were worshiping, not God, but a man. I stepped outside for air for some time and later I went back into the sanctuary. People were dancing. Cameras were rolling. The smell of anointing oil and sweat filled the air. And suddenly, I couldn't breathe. My chest tightened. My mouth went dry. And before I knew it, I was walking straight out of the church. Past the ushers. Past the cars. Past the stage I used to serve on. I didn't even look back. Because if I had, I might have turned to salt. For the next 2 weeks, I stayed quiet. Avoided social media. Ignored calls from church friends. But the guilt didn't leave me. I had evidence. I had experiences. I had truth. But truth that stays hidden becomes a lie by default. So I made a decision. I didn't care about backlash. I didn't care if they said I was bitter, or possessed, or lost my anointing. What I saw, what I knew, had to be said. Because someone else might be living the same nightmare and thinking they're alone. But there was this elderly man that I respect so much living in our area. This man I know loves God, and so I went to him after he had called for me to answer why I have stopped going to church. That was when I opened up about these whole secrets in the church to him. After listening to me and seeing the evidence, he told me that he wouldn't allow me to go out and talk about anything. Because I was going to face my end doing so. And I might not live to spread the message God has for me. After considering and thinking about his advice, I decided to put the message down and start preaching and writing about certain things that goes on in the church. Over the period, I got more evidence about these immoral acts going on in the church through some other members that I later got connected to. Sister Thelma invited me to meet her at a small cafe in town. She didn't come alone. She brought 2 others. Naomi, a former choir leader. Joyce, once head of the youth prayer team. Both had left quietly. Both had stories. Naomi said she was told to submit herself to the man of God if she ever wanted to record her worship album. She refused. Her mic was taken. Her name was never mentioned again. Joyce. She caught an usher in the pastor's office scrubbing blood off a couch. She thought she was crazy. Until she wasn't. They thought they were alone. Now we knew we weren't. Over the next few weeks, I had heard a lot from more ex-members. I remember a young man named Ezekiel told me he had been disciplined and excommunicated for asking where offering funds went. Another girl, Rejoice, said she was paid GHS 3,000 to keep quiet about something she still couldn't speak of. The more I listened, the more the puzzle came together. This wasn't just a scandal. It was a network of control, manipulation, fear, shame, wrapped in church language and cloaked in honor for the man of God. Now let's talk about the psychology of silence. Something I started studying. I began studying spiritual abuse. And I realized something terrifying: abusers don't need chains. They use doctrine. Touch not my anointed. Rebellion is like witchcraft. You're out of alignment if you question your leader. All of it weaponized. All of it used to keep us from speaking out. And worst of all, it worked for years. I want to end here by saying that I served in a church for 3 years. I saw things I can't unsee. If you've experienced church abuse, manipulation, or silence, you're not alone anymore.
Before I say anything, I would like to inform you all that our first prayer guide video will be available this weekend on Saturday. I will link the channel in our next video so you can subscribe and pray along with us. Now, there are stories the church won't tell you, but we will. If this episode opened your eyes or echoed something you've experienced, don't keep it to yourself. Share this. Speak up. And if you're still trying to make sense of what happened to you in a place that was supposed to heal you, we see you. Subscribe for more confessions that pull back the curtain on spiritual manipulation. Drop your thoughts in the comments, even anonymously. Your story might help someone else heal. Know someone who needs to hear this. Share this video with them privately. Until next time, stay woke, stay wise, and never be afraid to walk away.